Broadcasting from around the stars, this is Fatherhood News Update. Good evening, our top stories tonight. The massacre at Hedley City. Posse fleet carriers repossessed. The rescue of the Sloth. Good evening, I am Jim Cooper, and we start today's broadcast in LHS 28's Hedley City, a civilian outpost that is home to LP-128-9 group, a faction that migrated from LP-128-9 and work in the refinery and farm pods in Hedley City. They have increased the productivity of this once dying outpost and is now growing, providing universal cartographics, workshop, rearm and refuel facilities to all local and visiting pilots within the LHS 28 star system. However, movement for LHS 28 for Equality, the native faction that sold this outpost to the LP-128-9 group, have assembled an armada of corvettes and have mounted a surprise attack to take this outpost. Our reporter Henry Kai has been orbiting the outpost and surrounding conflict zones and brings us this report on the massacre at Hedley City.
Hedley City was meant to be an easy target for the movement to take. They have the firepower, the credits and a well-trained and organized fighting force that they parade monthly. But when this war started, the passion of the locals was clear. They were not going to roll over.
This is our home. We will not give up and die here today. We will fight to our last sidewinder. They made a mistake here today. We are all ready to defend it, and we will paint the stars red with the blood of their commanders. We are united in our defense, and unlike their so-called elite commanders, we fight for our freedom, not credits.
And fighting they did, led by Commander Deadeye. A guerrilla tactics was deployed, with hit and run in packs of 3 eagles jumping in, buzzing around the corvettes, doing enough damage to render the ship immovable, then jumping out and slowly leaving the corvettes to explode from the damage that was sustained. Reinforcement orders were issued to all supporters of the movement. This was met with what's been called the wall defense tactics, that was deployed at the LHS 28 star. Ships from the group interdicted the Type 7 repair crafts and the federal assault ships of the movement, and created an impenetrable line with eagles, cobras, and sidewinders that left these ships unable to reach the main armada. News of the wall reached the stranded corvettes, and distress signals and calls for help were now being sent on open channels. Finally, the movement have officially sent a surrender request to the LP-128-9 group, but to this day the request has not been acknowledged, with commanders in the corvettes desperately trying to surrender to the attacking ships, but the assault continues. This is no longer a war but a massacre, leaving only signal sources of destroyed ships for scavengers to collect materials from. I have been Henry Kai for the Fatherhood News, reporting from the Hedley City.
We would like to remind all commanders that this is still an active war zone and conflict zones are still active. In business news, BD plus 69-238 Posse fleet carriers were all repossessed due to mismanagement. However, the refund credits have been sent to the BD plus 69-238 monarchy. The Posse are the protection arm of the monarchy, and this was hoped to be a simple administration error, but this has turned into much more than a simple admin mistake. Our reporter Allison Mansfield has been following this story and has filed this report.
The number of fleet carriers that the Posse purchased is still unknown, but no matter what the number was, the Brewer Corporation issued a repossession order of all BD plus 69-238 Posse fleet carriers. Reports that the leadership of the Posse ordered all fleet carriers must have all modules online at all the time are yet to be verified. The ongoing cost of this was not accounted for, and hence the order to repossess. Yet when the Brewers Corporation received the used carriers, the refund due was not paid to the Posse. Instead, it was paid to the BD plus 69-238 monarchy, as they helped with the purchase, due to a low credit rating issue that the Posse were dealing with. At the time, this was not an issue due to the fact that the Posse provided protection to the monarchy, despite fundamental different belief systems, with the unity against non-native factions within this small star system, making for strange bedfellows. The Posse had hoped this simple admin error would be fixed with a simple credit transfer, but in a communication that was shared with the Fatherhood News, the monarchy have stated they will look at this issue in the new year. Without these funds, the Posse were unable to pay independent pilots for contracts and missions that were entered into, and have now officially entered a bust state. A spokesman for the Posse has stated the monarchy is systematically trying to destroy their faction, and from this cycle, it will no longer provide protection for any monarchy ships within the star system. In response to the appeals to the Brewer Corporation by the Posse to reverse the refund, the Brewers Corporation have stated that their procedure is to refund to the account that paid for the fleet carrier, and they will not be involved in this dispute. Standard charity missions are now on the job boards for the Posse. For the Fatherhood News, I have been Allison Mansfield.
The Posse are not the only faction in bust state within our space. HS 1848 Blue Ring is also suffering a bust and inactive negotiation with other factions and independent pilots to try and recover from the bust state they find themselves in. Finally, a long-range distress signal was received from the Fatherhood's own commander Sloth Peralta. After a misadventure outside the bubble, he was left stranded with only parts of the distress call can be made out. The Fatherhood News obtained the original audio of this call.
Spanch. Pocket. System. I can't get out. New boost. Closest out system. 120. Away. Dry E8 XLD70. Dry E8, Dry E8 0. Dry E8 TXLD7, Dry E8 TXLD7.
Central Command approved a rescue and dispatched 4 commanders in a 10,495 light-year mission to bring the Sloth home. The fleet carrier TFCS Dragon's Lair was ready to undertake this perilous journey with Commander Legion _R917TH piloting the fleet carrier, supported by Commander Matt Profog, Commander Rion Mark, and Commander Erie Herder Reinhardt on board. They jumped to the rescue, being waved off by a number of well-wishers. While the mission was underway, the story of the stranded Sloth captured the hearts of all Fatherhood citizens with banners and flags posted over most Fatherhood-controlled space stations and outposts. Word from the TFCS Dragon's Lair was piped into the station intercom system, with updates on the mission now a must for all to follow. Workers stopping to hear the updates and docking approval in a number of Fatherhood stations delayed, while the updates were playing as they got closer to the stranded commander. After a long silence, rumors that the 4 commanders may have been lost to the black circulated, but that silence was broken with the words that all citizens had hoped to hear when finally Commander Erie Herder Reinhardt announced carrier has arrived. The cheers and joy can be heard in the docking bays, citizens hugging and chanting, "Bring him home." Commander Sloth docked his well-known Anaconda, engines disengaged, and with Sloth safely on board TFCS Dragon's Lair, and Sloth's first words upon landing can be heard via the live link. "I hope you got cornbread, 'cause I am in the mood for chili." He was presented with his patch as an official member of the Distant Sloths. After a medical exam and his fresh bowl of chili, the TFCS Dragon's Lair started its jump drive and is making its way back home to the sounds of the best hits of the 90s. From all of us here at the Fatherhood News, we want to say thank you to our brave commanders and welcome back home, Commander Sloth. That is all from me and the team here at the Fatherhood News team. Remember, don't dream of the stars, fly amongst them. Stay safe, commanders, and good night.